Woof, woof, woof.
Hello, CQ, the old friends net. This is N4LQ, November 4, Lima, Quebec. Steve in Shelby, North Carolina, calling CQ, the old friends net. The net is an AM amplitude modulation only net, and we meet here at 9 o'clock every Tuesday, every Thursday, and Sunday at 4 p.m. on 3715. The net is conducted in the round table fashion, and everybody that can generate an AM signal is welcome to participate. We take a list of check-ins and put them in order, and we'll let you know your place in line. So if you'd like to check into the net, please call N4LQ now.
Good morning, Steve. WA4LLR.
WB4ARK.
K4GDN. KZ4B.
WF2U.
WB4NKL.
K3OS.
W4MEC.
W4VRO.
Boy, that was slick. No doubles that I heard. Anybody else want to check in? Call now. Okay, here's what I got. WA4LLR, WB4ARK, K4GDN, KZ4B, WF2U, WB4NKL, K3OS, W4MEC, and W4VRO, and is anybody else out there that would like to check in? Call now. Okay, didn't hear anybody. Well, good morning, and it looks like a beautiful day. It's going to be sunny and 70 degrees here in Shelby, and looks like it's going to be that way all the way up to the weekend anyway. So I'm running the DX60 and driving the amplifier to about 275 watts. And the antenna is the usual horizontal loop antenna and the D104 mic. So let's go ahead and do the first round and find out what's going on around the neighborhood. WA4LLR, N4LQ.
All right, Steve, fine business. N4LQ. And the old friends, WA4LLR, good morning to everybody. We've got about 32 degrees and sunny up here in Burnsville, North Carolina. My name's Dave, and I'm operating the ART-13, receiving on an HQ-180, amplified D104, and feeding a horizontal dipole at about 50 feet. So that's the rundown on this end. Buddy, down to you. I bet you it's another ART-13. WB4ARK, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK, and you're right. ART-13, R390A, horizontal dipole. So, weather conditions down here are a little bit more mild. I forget what the temperature is right now, but it's moving on up. And it looks like we're going to have a nice warm day here. day to let the cats out. So anyhow, we will send it on to K4GDN, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK in the group. This is K4GDN. And in Myrtle Beach, this is George. And this morning we're running a considerably different rig than we have in the past. I'm operating from a Yaesu ST897, which is one of the smaller, more or less portable transceivers. And that's putting out about, less than 15 watts, sending that to the Collins 30L1. And I'm running about 175 watts of carrier, feeding in at half wave. It's right now, I guess, in the lower 50s here in Myrtle Beach, and it's supposed to get up close to 70 today, and we'll talk clear until the weekend anyhow. So that's the situation here. So John's coming to you. KZ4B in the group, K4GDN.
Okay, George, K4GDN in the group, KZ4 Bravo. Oh boy. The handle here is John. QTH is the east side of Lake Norman, on the Mooresville side. The transmitter is the usual Knight T150 driving the Ameritron AL1500 amplifier, which in turn is feeding directly via coax, long coax, a inverted B resonant on an 80 meters, about 75 feet up at the apex. Conditions seem to be great. George, there was a slight amount of QS Baker on your signal, but good copy. So on down to Mir, WF2U in the group, KZ4B, over.
Yeah, Roger, KZ4B and the net, this is WF2U. Good morning, everybody. Signals are good, except George is 5 and 7, a little bit on the weak side, and these are the reports that I have so far. Steve, you 20 over 9, Dave 20 over 9, Buddy 10 over 9, and John 20 over 9. But nice and quiet here. And it was 32 degrees when I got up at 6:30. It went up in the meantime to 42. And it's nice and sunny, and the humidity is going down. Running the Yaesu station, the FR101 receiver, the FL101 transmitter, and the FL2100B linear amplifier, putting out, let's see, about 120 watt carrier, and the appropriate amount of peak power out of it. So that's the setup, and the antenna is the usual end-fed half wave for 80 meters. Last Sunday's net, I have the problem that nobody heard me because I didn't have modulation most of the time. Found the D104 that I was using was just dying. The transmitter is okay, but with no audio input, you can't expect any kind of information coming out of it. I have to open it up. I think maybe the battery is dead. So, although it's a relatively new battery, although maybe it passed its shelf life already, because it was not used. So, haven't done it yet. Using a Shure desk mic labeled Johnson. So with that, it goes to Cliff, WB4NKL, and the net. This is WF2U.
WF2U, it's WB4NKL. Good morning, everybody. This is Cliff, located in Limestone, Tennessee. This morning I'm running a Ranger with about 40 watts of carrier. A little bit different setup. The Drake 2A receiver. And I guess being an hour early this new time, it seemed like enhanced signals. I copied George fine. Good signal here with the Yazoo, George. And Mir, your Yazoo always sounds good. Send it on around. Go ahead, Gary. K3OS, WB4NKL.
K Cliff, WB4NKL, and the group from K3OS. And like everybody, a beautiful day here in Hickory. And bright sunshiny. It's been that way since daylight here, or before daylight. Pretty sunrise, actually. And we're running the Yaesu twins this morning into the amplifier about somewhere around 100 watts, or give or take. And I did some antenna work last week, but I don't think it made any change in the signal strength, but I did shift it a bit so I could get the feed line a little bit more in line with the house, so that I make it a little bit easier to run. I've got to shorten it up just a little bit. And I also threw a hanger up in the rope up in that one tree, so I can put my end fed halfway back up, but this time at a 90-degree angle, not a 30-degree angle. So we should be able to do some valid comparisons. Plus, it'll be up a little higher, although it will slope a little bit, but that's what I can fit in the property. But that's a project when we get some time to do. And this afternoon, I'm going to head over to a local ham not too far away from me who's having trouble with an antenna and see if we can't figure out what in the world is going on with that thing. So that's the project for some of the projects today. I'll turn it down to, I'm sorry, I'm copying everybody today. Everybody. Go ahead, Charlie. W4MEC, K3OS.
Very good, Gary. K3OS and the old friends, W4MEC. Well, good signals today, George. Your S9 here this morning. A little QSB on you, but solid copy. And like everybody else, we got clear skies, and thermometer said 32. So I noticed last night it was at 28. So I hope it didn't affect the apple trees here. Everything is starting to get buds on it. Down in South Carolina, everything's budding out heavily. So you don't want a repeat of a few years ago where they basically lost their entire peach crop. But in the upstate here, had a good service for Lee on Sunday, and learned some interesting things about him, and quite a bit of his family showed up. I was his son from down in, lives on the Edisto Island. He showed up, which was a pretty good run, and several others of the family. But a good get together. There was my wife came with me, and John was there, VVC John, and Richard, W4WU was there. So and a lot of folks from his car ministry were there too. So he was extremely highly thought of in his church. Well, let's see. That's about it for now. And I'm sitting here sorting my annual renewal letters here for the club, and I put it on top of my logbook. Wait a minute. Oh, it's Ray. W4VRO. Over to you, W4MEC. Bye-bye.
Okay, Charlie. The W4MEC and the net. This is W4VRO. Good morning to everyone. Signals are outstanding this morning. The S-meter is in unfamiliar territory. Amir, I'm glad you said that about Sunday.
and your problem there with modulation or whatever. I listened to the net briefly Sunday afternoon, and could copy only about 4 or 5 stations. Signals were very, very weak and just couldn't copy some at all. And Mir, you were one of the stations I couldn't copy at all, and that was a first for you. But now you've explained that there was a problem, so. But there were others too. That even Stan, he's usually very strong here, and he was at the noise level, so. Poor conditions for us Sunday. Name here is Ray, Romeo Alpha Yankee. QTH is near a little community called Raymond, and that's about 50 miles south of Atlanta. The rig is a Johnson 500 to an inverted V antenna and an amplified D104 mic. 2 ART-13s are sounding good, Dave and Buddy. DX60 always sounds good, Steve. And Cliff, I don't know if I've heard you on the Ranger, but it's sounding good and good signal. I think your antenna, or perhaps my antenna, doesn't favor your direction very well. But you're strong this morning, as everyone is. I think I'm at the bottom of the list, maybe momentarily. Maybe others will check in. Back to you, Steve, N4LQ in the group W4VRO.
Okay, Ray, W4VRO N4LQ. I'm back for another round. Is there anybody else that would like to be added to the list to check in? This is N4LQ listening.
WA4EVK.
All right, hello, Boone. Why don't you go ahead and say hello and then pass it back to me?
Not much to say this morning. Had things in disarray. Took me a little while to realize it. A beautiful morning here like everyone else's. I'm, however, running the Yaesu into the Swan amp this morning. Rearranging things here and didn't get quite through. It looks like the signal's going to hang in there pretty good anyway until I can get everything connected back up, get the AF68 going. And with that, I'll send it back up to you, Steve.
All right, Boone. So, Ray, you'll be turning it over to WA4EVK and then back to me. One more time, any more check-ins? All right. Well, that was interesting, and a lot of good boat anchors there this morning. And Charlie, fine business on Lee's service. And I got the time confused on that. I wrote down it was 10 p.m., and I looked at that yesterday, and I said, no, that can't be right. So it was probably in the afternoon. It explains why you all weren't here. But and Ray, real fine on living in Raymond. I wonder if that was intentional or if it just happened. And let's see, any outstanding, of course the ART-13s are always outstanding sounding. And George, your little 897 and amplifier are making the trip here. No problem at all so far. And the T150 sounds good, John. And Mir, you're sounding really good this morning. So much better to have a little bit of power and some audio to go with it. And Gary, you're sounding good. I'm not sure. I didn't write down what you were running. I have to take note of that. Well, we had a little net this morning at 7:30 or so, up on 3885, and there was some talk about the insurance rates going up astronomically, and that is of concern to a lot of us, of course. And somebody mentioned their agent told them about a guy complaining down in Florida because his homeowner's insurance went from $1,700 up to $4,000 and some dollars. So anyway, it's hard to get a grip on what's happening, but it is industry-wide, and if car insurance goes up, then so does homeowners insurance. North Carolina's insurance rates are regulated by the Insurance Commission, and if they raise their rates, if the commission raised the rates, all the insurance companies automatically do it. So they're kind of, I'm not really sure that's free enterprise, but that's how it works in North Carolina. And then we talked about the hotel in Asheville that was used to conduct the Morse code contest in 1939 that was won by, or was it 1934, won by Ted McElroy. And if you know anything about Morse code history, Ted was a manufacturer of keys, and he also was the world's fastest CW guy. So yeah, that was July the 2nd, 1939, at the George Vanderbilt Hotel in Asheville. And the Asheville Amateur Radio Club conducted that, and I think he walked away with the title, Copy and Code, on a typewriter. And there was 319 people in attendance. 1939. That's a pretty big crowd to come out and watch Morse code, isn't it? But McElroy was not a ham. He was a telegraph operator, and he just loved the code. And that building still stands. It kind of became a retirement home or for old folks, and they remodeled it, stripped off all the ornate stuff to make it look kind of plain, and it's still in business, I guess. You can look at it on Google. Anyhow, let's go around again to Dave. WA4LLR, N4LQ.
N4LQ on the group. WA4LLR. All right, great round. Beautiful signals this morning. Everybody has just about got the S-meter to the peg. And all the rigs sound great. And I learned something this morning. For some reason, I thought that CW contest was at the Grove Park Inn, but now I find out it was at the Biltmore, or the Vanderbilt. So that's interesting. Let's see here. I'm going to have to sign out on this one. I've got a funeral to get ready for. Speaking of which, Charlie, I'm so glad you were able to attend Lee's service. I'm glad there was a good turnout for it. And Gary, fine business on going to help the fellow ham with his antenna situation. I'll go ahead and share a few things on this day in history. First of all, our space weather. Sunspot count's 56. Solar flux index is 127, and the K is 1. So that's pretty good conditions for the lower bands. As far as this day in history, on this day in 1933, FDR gave his first fireside chat, which he was famous for during the Depression. On this day in 1968, oil was discovered in Alaska's Prudhoe Bay. On this day in 2020, Broadway goes dark due to the COVID-19 pandemic. On this day in 1894, Coca-Cola was sold for the first time in glass bottles. On this day in 1938, Germany annexes Austria. On this day in 1945, General Fromm was executed for a plot against Hitler. On this day in 1831, Clement Studebaker was born in Pinetown, Pennsylvania, founding individual of the Studebaker Automobile Corporation. On this day in 1912, Jolette Gordon Lowe in Savannah formed the Girl Guides, which would become the Girl Scouts. And on this day in 2009, Bernie Madoff, hedge fund manager was convicted to 150 years or sentenced to 150 years in prison for his Ponzi scheme. A few items from this day in history. Everybody have a great day. 7/3/99. God bless, and Lord willing, we'll catch up with you on Thursday. So, down to you, buddy. WB4ARK, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK. Well, sounds like we had an interesting time of it through the years. The temperature here is 42 at the present time, and yeah, it's going to be a nice day. I finished on the KWM2. It's up and running quite nicely. Very good reception. Got very low microvolt sensitivity, and so we'll be getting that back to the to Butch Gibbons in Gastonia. Let's see. And Cliff, I know you were at the Ham Fest this weekend. I wonder if you might give us an update on if you found anything and how it was. I didn't go. I held out until Saturday, and the weather conditions were not really great. It was raining most of the time, so I decided not to take the trek up there. That's about it for me for this round. Over to George. K4GDN, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK in the group. K4GDN. And I'm confident everybody real well. Signals are very good this morning. And appreciate the signal report on this rig. With the SD897 keying the 3001, I had to come up with a soft key arrangement. The 897 is strictly solid state, and they caution you very strongly in the book that you better not put any AC, you better not put any negative DC, and they say typically they want to see plus 12 volts, anywhere from 25 to 75 mils, so I've got a small DC relay doing my keying. And while I was doing it, I built all this into a little external enclosure, so I didn't make any modifications from 3001. And while I was at it, I put 4 diodes in series with a grid line to cut down on the idling plate current, got it down from 100 mils to 50 mils. This is handy when you're doing sideband or CW when the key is down and there's no input. Also, I've got a meter in the grid circuit so I can look at grid current, which I think is important when you're tuning these type of rigs. And it's all external. I didn't have to make any modifications in the little box that sits on top of the 3001, and I can see what's going on. Like I said, all the signals are really good down here this morning. Appreciate the reports on the rig. I just wanted to see if I could come up with a way to soft key 3001 because its key line is really not compatible with any of the more modern solid state rigs for the most part. So with that, I'll pass it on to, let's see, it goes to John, KZ4B in the group, K4GDN.
Okay, K4GDN in the group, KZ4 Bravo. Fine business, George. Good copy. Speaking of copy, Steve, you're damaging my receiver, which is nice. And Gary, K3OS, you're coming in unusually strong today. I can usually copy you solid, but you're really booming in today. I was able to, shifting gears, I was able to pick up a ammeter to go in my Titan 1 that one of the funnels blew out when my ladder line, one side, the hot side of my ladder line came undone, and there was some serious arcing and it looked like it took out the plate meter, and it took out one of the tubes. And so I can now proceed to try to put that back together. And being able to find a brand new plate meter was like a miracle. That came off the internet. Tickled me to death. I mean, just it very fortuitous, I think is the word. And so I'm going to pass it on over to Mir, who's coming in quite well. Take it away, Mir. WF2U in the group, KZ4B, over.
Roger, KZ4B on the net. This is WF2U. Excellent copy on everyone. George, you went up 1S point. You are S8 now. A little QSB, but no problem. Copy. And let's see. Yeah, there is nice quiet bend today. And Ray, regarding your comment that you couldn't copy me. Well, first of all, conditions were not good, and besides not having modulation, I was running only about 35 watts out. I was using the Gansa G76, which I just recommissioned. I used to use it until about for a couple of years, occasionally on the net, when conditions were good and you could get away with relative QRP. And I had it in storage, and when I took it back in the shack, I noticed that the meter glass was floating around in the radio, and then when I started to fish for it, also the meter itself came out of the bezel, so I had to take all the knobs off and pull the front panel off, and glue the glass back, glue the body of the meter back. Luckily it's working. And I also have another meter that has the same problem, but I haven't put it together yet. That's my spare. And that puts out about 35 watts carrier. But something happened with the D104. As I said, I have to determine whether something with the element or the preamp is not functioning because of the dead battery. That was my problem. So there were two strikes against me there: bad conditions and no microphone. But I just checked it last night with, not last night, the night before. Did some testing on the dummy load and a test receiver with another microphone, and it's working okay. So the D104 is on my workbench. I have another 4 D104s with one that I know that the element is not good, and the others have the wrong plugs for anything I'm using here. So I have to do a little bit of plug installation and check the elements and make sure that the batteries are fresh. And then probably I'll have a couple of spare D104s that I can put in service if something happens to one. I also have a brand new, never used original D104 element, so I can use that on the one that the element is dead. So anyway, that's basically it. I have a lot of things to do today after the net, and I'll be busy practically the whole day. In fact, we have new neighbors here that just moved into the house on the bottom of the driveway. Veterinary, which is pretty convenient, and also horses, which is a common language between us. So they are invited for dinner tonight, and I'm making two things that we're using for dinner. Making dessert and one dish and one appetizer. The ex-wife is doing the main course. So that's my job for today, and I might not be able to be on the 160 net tonight, depending how late our little social is going to last. So with that, sorry for the long-winded monologue here. And it goes to Cliff, WB4NKL. This is WF2U. By the way, you coming in great.
WF2U, it's WB4NKL. I guess it's a good day. I can get by with 40 watts there today, so the conditions are pretty good. Okay, Mary, I'm looking forward to hearing the G76 with modulation. Carrier was all right there Sunday, but not much audio. The Hamfest, buddy, I don't usually go to that one, but neighbor Chuck over here was going down by himself, so I decided to go with him. And I didn't pick up much. Nick England had a Bird 20 kilowatt dummy load there for $10. It's a water cooled deal, and it was just interesting, so I picked it up. I think we had pretty good luck out of those Bird dummy loads, but this one's supposed to be a 50 ohm, measures about 58 ohm. And it says not to run any power through it till you get some water circulating, so I'll probably just pass that along to somebody else. But I did have a good time. Seen John VVC was there, and John KZ4B was there, and Steve LQ, so I got to visit with those guys. And one other deal was John from JPL from over in North Carolina. He brought a little Morrow receiver that we'd already talked about, and it was by itself, no transmitter, but I'll use it for a spire. I've got a Morrow setup, so I'll have a spire receiver now. It's 28 degrees here this morning when I got up, and it's warmed up into the low 30s, and it's supposed to go on up to 63. So hopefully I'll get to get out and do a walk here in a little bit. So send it on to Gary, K3OS, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, WB4NKL, and the group K3OS. Yeah, actually your signal picked up that time. You're moving the S-meter quite nicely here with 40 watts. Steve, I'm running the Yaesu, the Kenwood Twins. I don't have a Yaesu. Kenwood Twins this morning. Into the amplifier about 100 watts, something like that. I'm going to bow out on this round, guys. Beautiful day. I think I want to get my walk in early, get my equipment ready to go, and do some antenna troubleshooting. Fortunately, the ham is not probably about 3-4 miles away from me, so it's not going to be a long trip. We'll see if we can figure out what's going on wrong with her antenna. And so I'll bid everybody a 73s, sounding good. Copying everybody really well this morning. Let's see. Over to Charlie. W4MEC, K3OS.
Okay, Gary, K3OS and the group, W4MEC. We'll see you maybe Thursday there, Gary. Good luck with the antenna project, so get that straightened out for them. Let's see. Anyway, was tinkering with the darn Hammerlin HT50 again, still trying to solve that lopsided sideband response, and no look yet, but it also, I finally got around to that, getting that DX100B tested anyway. I turned it on, and everything seems to be working, but unlike my Apache here, that the modulation gain pod is only at about 10 o'clock on the knob. The 100B takes it all the way up to 5 o'clock, almost full scale, and I'm not sure what that is. I sent a message to, I got it from Ken, W4HKZ, who got it from Richard, I believe, and W4W, and I asked him if one of the famous mods that was suggested by Jim, K4DE, I asked him if he actually did it, replacing the two 510 picofarads with .01s, but he hadn't answered back yet. So either I got a problem in the audio section, or well, I don't know what. And they wired I had hopes there was a 2-pin plug on the front, and I thought maybe it'd have push-to-talk in it, but it doesn't. So it's going to be like my Apache here, where I got to flip the plate switch, which is no big deal. I also noticed it didn't have a tune position, which I thought was interesting. I guess those are all improvements that he's came along with as they improve the rig there. And the 100B has 1625s in the modulator, and this one's got EL34s, I think, or 6 CA7s, yeah, or AC7s, one or the other. But anyway, it seemed to be working okay. It just took a lot of gain on the pot. So if I open it up, I'm probably going to disconnect the interstage transformer from the plate and rewire it as a capacitive couple to the primary, and get the plate voltage off that primary, because that transformer fails fairly regularly, apparently, on these older Apache type rigs, Mohawk and DX100B, so and 100. So anyway, I take it back. The 100B had the 16. The right correction. The DX100 has the 1625s. I think the 100B's got the same modulators as these, but I'll have to actually take it out to find out. Let's see. Let's see. Boone, I'm not going to be on the net tonight. I got a club meeting, so I won't be on 6 meters tonight. So you get to sleep in. W4VRO in the group. W4MEC.
W4MEC. In the net, W4VRO. Very good, Charlie. Sounds like you're having fun with that transmitter. So I hope that proves to be easy and successful. Gary, if you're still listening, I'm very interested in the antenna changes. In the past, Gary, your signal is usually about 50 to 75% readable, and once in a while better than that. But today, of course, your signal is very strong, and part of that has to be conditions, but I'm hoping part of it is the antenna change. So I'm going to be listening every time I'm on the net here for some stronger signals because of your antenna work. And I hope that works out well. Steve, the move here was not influenced by the closeness to the community of Raymond. I did not know it existed at the time I moved. A very small community, and on Highway 16, Georgia Highway 16. And the most unusual thing about Raymond is probably the names of the people who live there and the fact that all of them live in that little community. It was apparently organized by them and named by them, because
so many people in Raymond have as part of their name the name Ray or Raymond. There's a Raymond Carson, Raymond Ray, Martha Ray, and on and on. And the streets in Raymond are named after the people that live on them. And so there's an abundance of the name Raymond just all over that place. And it's a very, very small community. No stores, no post office. And better known than the community of Raymond is across the highway is located Lake Raymond, which is about a 50-acre lake, beautiful, surrounded by woods and only one or two houses built on the lake. So, interesting community, and when I get off the net here in a few minutes, I'm going into the city of Noonan, which is northwest on Georgia Highway 16, a short distance. So I will be going through the community of Raymond and hoping the traffic is not too bad. Enjoyed the net this morning. Steve assigned me out this time. I'll listen for a few minutes, but then I have to go. I appreciate you calling the net. It's been a good one. Enjoyed hearing all of you. And Mir, so glad I'm hearing you this time. You're sounding great. What other notes did I have here? Boone the Yazoo with the Swan amp sounds good. Good to hear you this morning, Boone. Good morning to you. Thanks, Steve, and all of you. Have a good week. WA4EVK in the group. W4VRO, clear and listening.
W4VRO in the group. WA4EVK. Well, I got back on the AF68. Hopefully got good y'all got good copy, and thank you, Ray. Enjoying both the good weather and the good signals this morning. George got the best signal in here I've ever heard. Very good signal. Wish it could be this way every time around. And Charlie, fine business on the 6-meter net tonight. I'll probably be sitting in here working on something. I'm still replacing the capacitors in the Clegg Thor. It's so old that I hadn't even tried to bring it up on a Variac yet. I'm just going to go straight to replacing the electrolytics and not even take a chance on it. And with that, I'm going to send it on up to Steve. N4LQ, WA4EVK.
Okay, Boone, this is N4LQ. Do we have any late check-ins? I don't hear anything. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm listening on the Drake R8B here, and everybody sounds like local AM stations. I mean, there's no static background noise, fading, or nothing. It just sounds like you're coming in on an intercom. So I love it. And Ray, thanks for the history lesson on the area there of Raymond. I grew up in a little place called Bellefonte, and Bellefonte was kind of a suburb of Ashland, Kentucky. But the Armco steel was the biggest industry around, and Bellefonte was originally a furnace, an iron furnace, and somebody incorporated the town and named all the streets after furnaces that were around the region. So I was on Bellefonte Drive, and there was Mount Savage, Buena Vista, and all these were furnaces from as far away as Pennsylvania that had names. So I didn't even know that until just a few years ago. I was looking on the internet at some history, and sure enough, those furnaces all existed somewhere, which were really nothing more than a pile of rocks, and they burned coal or something in them to melt the iron. Anyhow, that was interesting. And Gary, if you're still listening, have a good day on the antenna project. And and good luck, Charlie, on the HX50. I had one for a while. I didn't spend a lot of time messing with it, but I decided I didn't want to. Had a few things lacking in it. And okay, George, on keying the 30L1 with the solid state rig, I'm not sure exactly how you ended up doing that. I use this electronic, or this RF sensing TR switch to key everything, and it's got a relay in it that keys another relay that keys the audio, mutes it, keys the amplifier, and does it all. It's kind of neat. It's kind of half homebrew, half kit, and half junk. So looks like this will be our last round for some quickie 73s. Appreciate everybody checking in, and we'll just give it over to, let's see who's left here. Buddy's here, George is here, I think, John, Mir, Cliff, Gary has checked out, Charlie's probably still here, Ray's gone, I think Boone checked out. So go ahead, Buddy, and if you want to say 73s, just pass it around. This is N4LQ.
N4LQ, WB4ARK. Well, I've got a comment to make. It's kind of late. Most everybody's checked out, so they won't get benefit of it. But, John, I know you've probably thought about this. Your shunt resistor for that meter, meter that's measuring the current, be sure to check that, because otherwise you might take out a perfectly good meter movement. And another thing is some of the resistors that are available today are much smaller in physical size than the original resistors. Now, that's fine, well and good if you don't have a circuit that pulls a fairly high instantaneous current like a relay pull-in. Now, I found this out some time ago that when you get one of these resistors, and they're about half the size of, let's say, a 2-watt resistor, you can get resistors that are about half the size of an older 2-watt resistor. Now, that's good in a circuit that's pulling, say, a continuous current, something that is not an instantaneous peak current being forced across the resistor. So if you have a circuit that pulls a fairly high inrush current, you need to go with the old style resistors, the old larger type resistors, something that can handle that current, because the smaller size will not handle the current and they will burn out. So they will open up. So just keep that in mind if you have a circuit like that. So with that, we'll send it over to George. K4GDN, WB4ARK, 73, everybody.
WB4ARK, the group, K4GDN. And yeah, Roger on the resistors. But I have found that the metal oxide composition resistors, they will handle surges pretty well. And I've used quite a few of them. And Steve, the circuit for keying the 30L1 is homebrew, and it's all external. I made no changes in the 30L1. It's in a little box that includes a 12-volt, a small 12-volt DC relay. I have 12-volt bus in the shack, which operates all the solid-state equipment off of deep cycle batteries with a trigger charger on them. So I use actually keying 12 volts with the 897 that relay in turn feeds that 170 volt, negative 170 volt line coming out of the 3001. Like I say, the whole thing is external, including the grid meter and the diodes I've got in there to cut down on the idle plate current. So it's unplugged. And I do intend on selling the 3001. I got it initially to run with the Drake 4B twins, and then I got a hold of this L4B Drake amp, so the reason for the 3001 doesn't exist anymore, and I will probably sell it. I plan to be up at the April lunch if anybody's interested. And the 3001 has got 4 brand new tubes in it, and it may have been a military unit, because I've got both military and civilian documentation on it, as well as the Samsonite carrying case, which is kind of a collector's item. So anyway, with that, I'm going to say 73 to get out of here. It's been very good. Steve, thanks for calling the net. Appreciate all the reports on the rig. So let's see. I turn it over to, looks like it goes to John if he's still there. KZ4B in the group, K4GD at 73, guys.
K4GDN in the group, KZ4 Bravo. Fine business, George. We're here. Steve, before you sign the net out, if you happen to recall the name and call of the gentleman that checks in this net from Climax, North Carolina, if you could pass that on to me, I would appreciate it. Shifting gears, buddy, you're absolutely right. I would presume the shunt resistor failed, and that's what killed the meter. And so that's the first thing to go after. I actually lost a meter in my T150 that same way. The resistor didn't fail from overload. It was actually mechanically cracked, and it took the meter out. But I had a spare parts unit, so I was able to resurrect it. But that's what kills them, and what I'm planning on doing is putting a diode in there so that the diode will handle the current if the shunt resistor fails again in the future, because meters are darn hard to come by. I try to buy spares when I can, and I procrastinated on the Titans, and it bit me. But I lucked into a brand new one. I can't believe it, because it doesn't interchange with any of the other amplifiers. It's specific to the Titan 1. Let's see, what else was I going to comment on here? Oh yeah, when the amplifier, when one of the 3CX800s failed on that Titan, that is a very hard to get tube, and they're stupid expensive like all the external anodes. I bought a claim to be new. It's in the new box. Final for a AL800, and the guy bought a solid state amplifier, so he was finished with tubes. So for less than the price of a new tube, I bought the tube, and he threw in the amplifier, and which obviously needs to be repaired. But physically it looks quite nice, but it obviously took the tube out. So well, he claimed it didn't take the tube out, it just won't transmit, and it's some other part. and it had another tube in it when it failed. So I think I've got pretty good odds that I got a good tube, and he threw in the amplifier. So and I picked that up at the Hamfest. So how's that for an old buzzard on the last round? Let's see, Mir, I think you're still in there, WF2U in the group, KZ4B, over.
Yeah, Roger, KZ4B and the net, this is WF2U. Yeah, still everybody's coming in very well, and nice net. The band is extremely quiet today. So it was nice to hear all the nice signals today, and most likely I won't be here Thursday morning because the weather is good, so I'm doing my usual birding practice up in Bostic, North Carolina. So 73, everybody. Have a good day and good week, and see you all, I guess, Sunday afternoon, except for the 160 crowd that most likely tonight I'm not going to be on, but any other day would be just about open for me. I mean, every other night. So 73, Steve, thanks for running the net, and we'll pass it on to, let's see, Cliff. I'm not sure whether it's signed off, but anyway, this is WF2U Clear, but listening to the end.
Okay, Mayor. WF2U, WB4NKL. Well, we missed you on 160, and guess I'll try to make it back tonight. Yeah, that's a good idea. Put some diodes across that meter. I guess to use the Schottky diodes, John, and limit it to 0.3 of a volt if the shunt resistor fail. Let's see. The DX100B, Charlie uses 1625s also, like the DX100, unless somebody's changed them out to something else. But I kind of like the 1625s because they're plentiful and they don't cost you an arm and a leg. Those EL38s, 34s, whatever they are, quite expensive nowadays, especially USA made or the British ones. So it's a good thing. I like the 1625s. You can still pick them up at every Hamfest, seems like. 73s, and I enjoyed it, and thanks for calling it, Steve. I see Gary checked out, and I'm not sure who was getting it next, but whoever was after Gary, go ahead. It's WB4NKL.
Okay, it's me, WB4NKL in group W4MEC. Real good. I'll tell you something Buddy was talking about, the resistors being small. It's actually the 2-watt resistors are the size of a 1/2-watt resistor now. And I made a mistake in that I thought I had separated them, and I've got a drawer, by ranges of resistance of I have a drawer like 0 to 1K and then 1K to 10K. Well, I mixed in those 2-watt resistors in with a 1/2-watt, so now I don't know which one's which. So I take a guess. Some of them have a green body, and I'm pretty sure that's them, but a couple don't. So. And the other thing is the colors on some of those resistors, the banded resistors. They're very difficult to discern. A couple of the colors, like blue and green and purple. Red is tough too. It looks brown, and I'm having to use a meter to double check. I'll look at the bands and I'll see it, and I say, well, that looks like a 1200K, and I'll sit there, and it's not. It's something else, because the color bands and the body and everything just don't do very well. So that's another issue with modern resistors. There is the color bands are a little difficult to discern. But anyway, but they are good, and I know they don't do you any good, but I've got some fuses down to 100 milliamps, and I think that's my smallest one is 100 milliamp fuse. So I don't know if that would protect a meter or not, but I guess if it's a basic meter with just a shunt, I'm going to setting it up like a voltmeter, where you add resistance in series with the meter and put those both across the shunt. Might save it too if you do the calculations and the meter has a low enough full scale deflection to do that. But that way you have like 1,000 ohms in series with the meter, and that probably would protect it. So anyway, we'll see you fellas on Thursday, and you'll have a good rest of the day and week, and we will carry on from here. And let's see, I don't know if Boone is still there or not. I don't remember him saying he was checking out, but I'll turn it over to him anyway, and if it's not, pick it up, Steve. 73-all, WA4EVK in the group, W4MEC.
W4MEC in the group, WA4EVK. Well, thank you, Charlie. I wouldn't wish that on anybody on the color stuff, but that's what I've been burdened with or whatever due to my bad color vision. I rarely got the wrong resistor in the wrong place in a Heath kit because I, measured every one of them as I built a Heath kit. So enough of that. I'll say 73s to everybody and send it on up to Steve, N4LQ, WA4EVK.
All right, this is N4LQ. Thanks, everybody. And yeah, the color code on resistors has deteriorated, and it's really hard to read what they are now. So I'm not sure what happened, if modern technology lost the ability to put the colors on or not. And I think I didn't have my mic squeezed in. Anyway, thanks everybody for checking in. John, KZ4B, to answer your question, the guy in Climax is Jim, and his call is KO for Charlie Tango Mike, KO for CTM, and he's busy working on a couple of Valiants that he picked up, trying to get them going. So with that, we will say 73s to everybody and shut down the Old Friends Net until Thursday at 9 a.m. and hope to see everybody there, and of course every night at 8 p.m. on 160, and I suspect the band will be equally as good tonight. Nice, no static or anything like it was last night, just absolutely beautiful. And a couple nights ago it got so bad we actually switched over to sideband, and it was night and day difference. But as long as we can, we'll keep doing AM and give our old rigs some exercise. 73, this is N4LQ. Bye-bye.
7-3, Steve, thank you for the feedback, and I think in the summertime we might do well to go to sideband with all the static. But anyway, 7-3s.